What is up, Volley Bros? As promised, this is going to be the video where I talk about my Volibear deck. Fortunately, I actually have some really good gameplay footage at the end of this video that I'll show for varying matchups. In this video, I'm just going to be going over the deck once again. I'll try not to be too redundant with the overview video I had in my Vegas recap. And if you prefer a more text-based approach, I do have a free Metafy guide down in the description below. Just a word of warning, I'm not the best at creating guides or anything, but please enjoy the information I share in there as well as this video. So yeah, going over the deck list, we have our, Volibear Legend. I'm sure all of you know what this is by now. Every time you play a Mighty unit, you get to ramp one rune. And in our deck, we have mostly Mighty units with the exception of our Herald of Scales. You can basically interpret it as whenever we play a Mighty unit on our turn, we get a free Mobilize, which is quite good, especially because we want to ramp to our max rune count and start dumping Might on the field. In terms of our rune split, we have 6 and 6. The reason we are on 6 and 6 is because we have a lot of control-based removal spells like Falling Stars, Challenges, and we also have tricks like Punch First. We do have 6 reds because we could potentially run up to 3 Falling Stars depending on the matchup. And then we have 6 oranges just for everything else that might need orange. And for our battlefields, we have our typical Aurora battlefields. The order you actually want to select battlefields is you want to go Sigil first. That's the one I found a little bit more successful going first, mainly because you want to save Aspirant's Climb for your game going when you know you're going first. So if you lose a game, you want to play Aspirant's Climb. If you win a game, you probably want to play Obelisk of Power. And Sigil of the Storm is just a nice in-between. Sometimes a lot of decks have their really strong they have a really strong going first like battlefield for game one, and Sigil, it's you could kind of think of it as a throwaway battlefield in that case, but it is still generally pretty strong and kind of forces your opponent to just stay on one side the whole game. So let's say you go Sigil first, suppose you win, you want to go Obelisk on the next game, mainly because you're going second. And if you play Obelisk, you get to start off at 4 runes, which is obviously not like the greatest. It's only really good if you can somehow time it with your opponent going Obelisk first, then you get double Obelisk game, and then you can play a 5 might unit right from the get-go. But most of the time, like getting 4 runes on your first turn is simply okay. But one good thing about it is that you could play Herald turn 1, and if you actually get you're probably going to get a 5 might unit on the next turn, so you'll go to 6 runes on your second turn, and then you'll play, like, let's say a Blazing Scorcher. That'll ramp you by 1, and then on turn 3 you can actually drop an Aurora with 0 ramp spells. So Obelisk of Power is pretty good just to ramp really fast, and usually this kind of game is the one where you are generally unfavored because you're going second, and if you can just get some big units out, usually turn 2, even with 6 runes, you can accelerate a Scorcher, which is actually really strong. So there's a lot of interesting ways you can play around the going second with Obelisk of Power. And of course, if you lose the first game and you know you're going second, or you know you can select which what you go, and you're probably going first. You want to pick Aspirant's Climb, because going Aspirant's Climb while going first basically gives you an extra turn because you're going first, and then it gives you another extra turn because of the points needed to win the game. So that's the general battlefield plan. I feel like if you stick to this plan for most of your games, you'll be fine. Obviously, there are certain matchups where you don't want to Obelisk going second. These are matchups where you don't want to give your opponent like 2 Obelisks of Powers. Like, I would say the Irelia matchup, you want to try to time your Obelisk with when they play their Obelisk. That way they can't like sneaky deckhand you multiple games in a row. So those are the only edge cases where you might want to switch up the order. But most of the time, it's just going to be Sigil of the Storm for game 1, Aspirants if you know you're going to go first in the next game, and then Obelisk if you know you're going second. So yeah, that's basically the strategy around the battlefields. It's pretty simple. There's not too much thinking. It's just a very basic way to go about your games. And then let's take a look at our main deck. So we got our Volibear Furious. This is going to be our champion unit. The only reason we play this over the orange one is because this one can actually get played out a lot of the time with 10 runes, because very rarely will you ever get to 12 based on how many spells you're doing. And Volibear is just, I mean, he's kind of a beast. You know, you put him in your base, and if you have like Stormbringer or something, it means you can clear out any battlefield you want. And the double deflect does hurt a lot. Though usually if your opponent rebukes Volibear, you feel pretty bad too because you just spent 10 runes and 2 power. But most of the time, you will probably not even play Volibear unless the matchup is super, super slow. So you don't really have to worry about this. To be honest, if Volibear was just like a 5 might vanilla, that would be better than this Volibear in most cases. But we take what we can get. Um, and yeah, that's it for our chosen champion. I guess we could start off from some of our spells. We got the sabotages. These are your spells that you will use to counter purple and green decks. Purple decks, of course, each of their spell can be like a 5 might swing, fight or flight, rebuke, switcheroo, even more. So sabotaging one of those is pretty big for you because this is essentially a 5 might in your favor, and you also get to see their hand, which lets you play around with perfect information. We run 3 of these because it's super cheap and you have a lot of card draw, so hitting all of them is amazing. I feel like you keep in sabotage. You don't want to sideboard this out in most matchups. There are some matchups where they don't have a lot of tricks. Those matchups you can side out sabotage, but most of the time, as long as your opponents have like some key spells, you want to keep sabotage in. You could probably cut them down depending on the matchup, but that's going to be the main focus of sabotage. It's just good into most matchups. Punch first. This is the really strong spell for 1, and you don't care about the power as much because you're always ramping every turn, so you're basically getting a lot of runes. Punch First is really good against aggro decks, from what I've found, because against aggro decks, you actually have to play a little bit more aggressively. You want to get on the battlefields, and a lot of aggro decks don't have a lot of good ways to remove units, so they will usually try to swarm you or just try to go over your units with multiple. And if that situation ever occurs and you punch first, you can completely blow them out. The only aggro decks where punch first isn't as good is the ones that have a lot of like direct removal, or obviously like purple decks that can just fight or flight you or rebuke you. So I feel like a lot in those cases it depends on the aggro deck, but most of the time punch first is really good against aggro, in my experience, and it's also good like just to have like 1 or 2 of, just so your opponent has to play around it. And in the end, obviously like in the late game, if you really need a hold, this is basically a 1 mana or 1 rune for 5 might, which is basically a whole dragon worth of body. So punch first, we don't run 3 because it's not actually super good against a lot of the really good meta decks. So, but it still is important to have, because it does come in clutch even against the decks that could fight or fly you or rebuke, because you can just save it for the last unit, if they were to do such a play. It also has some good synergy with your Stormbringer. Not that the combo really comes up often, especially because our deck only runs 1 Stormbringer. Doran's Blade. So originally after Vegas, I thought Doran's Blades were not going to be as useful in this deck, mainly because of how much purple there is. But the fact that you can like sort of fix the math on a lot of your units with Doran's Blade is actually super important. The equip cost is basically free given the fact that you are ramping every turn. And the main point is that of Doran's Blade is to turn your 5 might units into 7 might units. Because 7 might is a really key breakpoint. It goes over Rasas, it goes over Ferris Forerunner, it prevents you from dying to Falling Star, prevents you from dying to Singularity. So Doran's Blade is actually really good across the board. And if you can hit it early, it's basically a turn 1 play, which Volley doesn't really have any. A lot of the time, like you could go Mobilize, or Doran's Blade. And if you're running Aurora, you can't run stuff like Sea Monkeys or Gem Jammers. So Doran's Blade is a nice early item that you can put down, and it's just really solid to give your units a sudden +2 might. Obviously, you could argue that you could go for a longsword, which has reaction speed, but sometimes just developing early with a Doran's Blade will really help your sort of curve. Because, like, let's suppose your turn 1 is Doran's Blade, your turn 2 is like a Minotaur, a Blazing Scorcher. If you play the Minotaur when you had a Doran's Blade on turn 1, you can actually sort of save it from a Falling Star in case your opponent tries to blast it. Same with a Scorcher, because a lot of the times against decks that do run Falling Star, if your turn 1 is nothing and your turn 2 is just play a 5-drop, and your opponent like Falling Stars it, you're actually in a really bad spot because you just spent 2 turns doing nothing, and your opponent has like basically free reign over the board. So being able to just like get that extra 2 might is kind of important. And now with equipment, a lot of decks can go bigger than your dragons. So being able to go on top of what they have with the Doran's Blade is actually quite important. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Doran's Blade. The another cheeky thing you can do is attach Doran's Blade to Herald of Scales or the mechs generated by Ferris Forerunner, and it turns it mighty, which gives you an extra draw with Show Strength, Catagrin. But those are a bit more niche situations. So outside of Doran's Blade, we also have Challenge. These are your main ways to um, remove units. And the main purpose of challenge is to remove units in base in particular, because what happens is, especially on the last turn, your opponent might want to develop a lot in base, so you don't just like swarm in with your 50 dragons and clear them off the battlefields. So being able to challenge, or I guess challenge, but or threaten those units in their base is pretty important. You can basically always win the challenge. Uh, as long because this deck has Doran's Blade, so you can push your units to be beefier than even what they were already. And then if you have Catagrin, like nothing can win a challenge against Catagrin most of the time. You do have to watch out for like Draven spinning axes and green like pump spells, but most of the time your units are sufficiently large enough where the challenge should always win on your part. And if you combine this with like let's suppose a sabotage, then you should have perfect knowledge of what they could play. So you can always play challenge in situations where you know that it will go through and kill off the opposing unit. So that's technically I don't want to go over show strength yet, but Falling Star in this deck we only have two of. This performs a pretty similar role to challenge. This is a great anti-aggro card, mainly because you don't really have a lot of ways to clear units, like a swarm of smaller units. So, and obviously it has a lot of power costs, but given the fact that we're playing Immobilize every turn, that should offset the cost of the Falling Star. And Falling Star is, I think it's really important in the aggro matchups because you're trying to, your main goal is to place big guy on board and clear their small guys. And Falling Star does a great job of that because if they ever pull back their small guys to your base, you clear them out and you basically just run them out of units and you'll win because you just have bigger units, you have higher quality units, and if the game gets longer and longer, then you will win out. And then yeah, those are your main two like damage spells. You're mostly playing challenge and Falling Star on your turn. You rarely ever want to play challenge on your opponent's turn because they could have more ways to interact with it and potentially go over your challenge. So I would consider challenging Falling Star in the same category. One thing I would change after Vegas is I would actually go up to 3 challenge in main and maybe down to 1 Falling Star, just because I feel like challenge has a little bit, it's cheaper and oftentimes you don't really need to kill like one multiple small units. It's just one larger threat like a Darius or a Draven in base. So I would actually say challenges are a little bit better than Falling Stars in the current meta. So that's basically our combat kind of tricks or spells that we have in this deck. Show Strength is another spell that we have, but this is part of our card draw engine. So our card draw engine with Show Strength is obviously we play a bunch of 5 might units and then we play Show Strength and we draw a bunch of cards. So the usually as long as you're drawing more than 2 cards with show Strength, you're getting pretty solid value on it. If you can draw 3 or 4, you're basically getting a progress day for 2 runes. But obviously if you're playing Show Strength like that, you're probably going for a very heavy development strategy where you build a lot of units in base and then try to get all your combat tricks and spells and sort of wipe out all their units in one go. So before I jump on to some of the units, I just want to go over some of the other card draw engines we have in this deck. So Show Strength is one of our cheaper ones that we can use to refill our hand. And the big version of Show Strength is Catagrin the Infernal. Obviously, Catagrin is also a unit, so it's not really like... I would actually put it in the card draw section because it's basically just Show Strength with a 9 might body. Which is good, especially if you're like top decking, trying to get answers, and just play like a really high quality unit every turn. So there's not really much to say. They basically function the same, except you get a big body with Catagrin. And then the other card draw card that we have in this deck is Dazzling Aurora. So I like to consider Dazzling Aurora like as not a key card in this deck, because originally I was running this deck with Gem Jammers. I had a previous video on this, and that deck performed okay, but with Aurora, it just becomes so much more consistent, mainly because the meta right now is a little slow. So a lot of the times you can just slam down an Aurora, and even if it drops, like most of the time you're hitting like a 5 might unit, and even a 5 might is not even that bad to hit off of with Aurora, because it will still ramp you with your Volibear legend ability. And the main purpose of Dazzling Aurora is for card draw, because it's basically +1 card every turn, and it's a free card. So as long as you consider the first turn to be paid with the Aurora, like as long as you can get like 2 procs of Aurora, it pays for itself almost. And obviously you can have high rolls where you hit Catagrin with a bunch of mighty units, but most of the time this is just to increase your consistency in your deck. And if you want to play this deck without Aurora, you can play without. You can just replace them with Gem Jammers. Sometimes Dazzling Aurora can be a bit of a liability because it costs so much. So against decks that have a lot of heavy gear removal, or decks that run Akshan who could steal your Aurora, I would actually recommend siding the Auroras out. And if your opponent sides in Gear Hate, you're basically making them waste a whole card. Especially if they have a Thermal Beam in hand, it's basically a dead card if you side out all your Auroras, or just choose not to play your Auroras, so that could also be an option. But yeah, against slower matchups, you want to keep your Auroras in, but against ones that it could be dangerous, you can take them out. So yeah, that's your basically your main card draw package in this deck. Our Herald of Scales is a way for us to sort of act like a miracle deck, because Herald of Scales reduces your dragon's cost by 2. If you have multiple Heralds of Scales out, all your dragons become battering rams basically for 1 might, or one energy. And if you have like multiple of these, you can even play Catagrin for like 3 runes. And I think I had one game where I had all 3 Heralds, and I was just plopping down Catagrin after Catagrin, and I drew like 35 cards. I almost decked out, but it didn't matter because I was gonna end the game within like 2 turns. So Herald of Scales is your way to cheat might. Um, when you hit Herald on curve into dragons, it will feel really, really good. If you don't, you're playing a significantly weaker version of the deck, but it's still winnable in a lot of cases as long as you're playing like in a smart manner. And yeah, I mean, this is just one of the ways you could high roll with this deck, just hitting Herald on curve into dragons and Show of Strength or Catagrin. And yeah, that's this card isn't, there's not too much to say about this card. It's just another way to sort of get ahead in terms of runes. Other than Herald, we have our Dragons package. We have Blazing Scorcher, classic 5 might vanilla with the option to accelerate. Obviously, a lot of people don't expect that you could accelerate a 5 might, so you can win a lot of games by catching people off guard. There's not much to say about this card. It's just very, very standard, very honest unit. We have Doomdrake, which is the when I attack, give +2 if there's an enemy unit, ready enemy unit here. Very good against Master Yi. Very good combo synergy with Minotaur Reckoner, because the units are going to be stuck at the battlefields and giving you a chance to attack in and get +2. But other than that, it's just a 5 might vanilla most of the time. So just treat it as such. We do have a lot of 5 might vanillas. Our next 5 might vanilla is Minotaur Reckoner, which turns both battlefields into Valmaz Lairs. It turns Overzealous Fan into a 2 might vanilla. It turns Fighter Flights into dead cards. So Minotaur Reckoner, very strong. This is probably one of the strongest cards in the current meta, especially against all the purple decks, and even against aggro, because aggro decks, like let's say they send in their guys to the battlefield, they want to pull back. But if you slap down a Minotaur Reckoner on turn 2, they can't pull back. And then the next turn, they have to deal with like Blazing Scorcher accelerated, or maybe like a Dire Wing. Well, maybe in 2 turns. But basically, it's Minotaur Reckoner is here to counter purple and aggro decks that want to save their little dudes. And you're just telling them, nope, you cannot save them. They're going to die to my big beefy dragon in the next turn. So Minotaur Reckoner, very important against, let's say, like Draven. You do want to make sure you can protect it from like a Falling Star in the back. So either you have 2 Minotaur Reckoners, or you can sort of attach a Doran's Blade. There's a few ways to get around that. And so yeah, just make sure that you're always keeping Minotaur against purple decks and decks that are running like Reaver's Row, because now Reaver's Row becomes a Valmaz and they lose the sort of pullback ability. So Minotaur Reckoner, very strong. If they end up sticking a lot of units in the base in the battlefield, you can punish with Stormbringer, you can punish with Red Volley. There's just a lot of ways you can punish them with Minotaur. And another unit we have, it's not a dragon, it's Ferris Forerunner. This is one of our stickiest units we have that is mainly here for control decks. So any decks that are really spell heavy, kill spell heavy, yellow, blue, singularity, or like Kaisa. This is good against Kaisa. This is good against Victor. This is good against Lux. So, uh, and it's also quite good against aggro as well, because let's say you're playing against Rek'Sai, you send it in, they I don't know, Hidden Blade or Call the Weak. You get 2 more mechs. So it's just a great body that sticks on the field. And the only time I would take this out is against purple decks. Even though it is a really high value card, against purple decks you don't really care about the death knell as much, because especially if it gets rebuked, that will hurt. You basically lose out on the death knell. And if it gets fight or flighted, it's also pretty bad because you can't take advantage of that. So Ferris Forerunner, it's overall really good, but there are situations where you do want to take it out. And then we have one copy of Stormbringer. The reason we don't have more than one is because we have a crap ton of draw here with Show of Strength, with Catagrin, with Dazzling Aurora. So you can usually hit it. Sometimes you will hit it off of Aurora and then it goes to the bottom of your deck, which is really sad. But another main thing with this deck is because we're not running like Yones or Vi's, there's not as much good synergy with Stormbringer. So oftentimes you can just win games without needing Stormbringer. We do have a lot of accelerates with Dire Wings, with Blazing Scorchers. So especially if your opponent goes on one side and you're stuck on the other, you can usually still clear them out off the other side as long as you have your accelerates or you have your falling stars or your challenges. So that's why we're only running one Stormbringer. Most of the time we won't need it, depending on our game plan. And then Dire Ring, this is our 7 Might Dragon. This one is the all it does is it enters ready if you control another dragon. Great way to surprise people because people don't really know what this card does or don't expect that you will run it. And if it gets discounted by Herald, so it could be pretty cheap as well. And obviously, if you flip it off of Aurora, it's not too big. It's not too bad of a deal because you're still getting 7 Might for free basically. And yeah, not much to say about Dire Ring. This is just a pretty sneaky card you can have. Great against aggro because the aggro decks, they won't expect a 7 Might accelerated. And unlike, say, Darius, who comes in 7 Might accelerated, this guy stays at 7 Might on the battlefield. So it's just a really good way to hold the battlefield as well. And if you're holding a battlefield and you have 1 Might open for punch first, like they need 12 plus Might to get over that. So very strong card. And I think that's pretty much all the cards in the main deck. In the sideboard, we have 2 Unyielding Spirits. These are for the decks that can actually have a lot of spells that can kill you in your base. So any deck that runs Watcher Bellows, like Ezreal, Kaisa, Watcher Bellows will basically kill all your 5 mites that you build up in your base. So you'll need Unyielding Spirit. It's also great against Singularity because it'll basically blow out your opponent. They spend six mana, 6 runes, and you blow them out with an Unyielding. Very important. It's also good against Unchecked Power for the few decks that do run it. And yeah, it's just all around very flexible, very important. Because against those control spell heavy matchups, not having the Unyielding will feel really bad. It's actually also decent against Draven because a lot of Dravens are running Falling Stars. So even if you Unyielding a Falling Star, that could save you a lot of tempo, especially if you're at 6 runes, you plop down a Scorcher, and then they try to like Unyielding Spirit, they try to Falling Star you, and then you Unyielding, and now that's actually a really good like sort of trade for you, because they're going down 2 runes to do that. We have another challenge, another Falling Star in the side. You will basically swap these in depending on the matchup, depending if you need more challenges or Falling Stars. We have 2 Thermal Beams. These are for your Azir, Ornn, gear heavy matchups. It's also not bad against Irelia because you can clear like the Swifties, you can clear the GAs, you can clear the Zanyas. But to be honest, I didn't really face too many of those in my run. So it's really just a meta call if you think you need them or not. I think even 1 could be fine because you have so much card draw, and by the time you need it, you should be able to get it. So yeah, Thermal Beam, pretty good. Brynn, this is mainly a card to combo with Thermal Beam, especially against like Ornn, who could have infinite ways to prevent you from playing a Thermal Beam. And it's also really good against like obviously purple decks. But the reason Brynn is not in the main is because most of the time you're defending with this deck rather than being on the offensive, because when you're on the offensive, you usually have a lot of might. So you don't really need to stop your opponent from playing anything because you should always win. Um, Bryn here is for those occasional games where you sometimes will be on the offensive and the Bryn will come in clutch. And it's mighty, so it ramps you, which is quite nice. And then we also have another extra copy of Ferris in the side, which is good against those controlling matchups. The only cards that I was thinking about switching around after Vegas is probably add in like Snapvines. Carnivorous Snapvine is really good into aggro, and it's also pretty decent into Draven. So that's like one of the main cards that I was thinking about putting in. You'll notice that this deck doesn't have Sky Splitter because we don't actually have that many 8 might units. The only one we have is Catagrin, and anything else you actually have to attach a Doran's Blade or use a Punch first to get to 8 might to make Sky Splitter free. So our Falling Stars are essentially our Sky Splitters here, which is a little bit more flexible because it hits base. And a lot of the times we don't want to be casting spells on our opponent's turn because we can get blown out by let's say Watcher comes down, our Spy Splitters are no longer free. Let's say they play Hard Bargain. There's just so many things that could go wrong playing spells on our opponent's turn. So we want to try to keep it to playing on our turn with this deck. And I think that's pretty much it for the deck profile. The main two strategies you want to go for with this deck is one is develop and base. This is the strategy you want to go for against like mid-range, slow matchups, and but not too slow. Because like there are some decks that will outcap you. Like for example, I played against a Detonate Miracle Draven. That one will actually outcap you, and you actually have to be on the aggressive side against that kind of deck. I made the mistake of playing it too slow and I got outcapped, but most of the time against slower matchups, you want to just develop in base and let them rack up some points. It doesn't matter. They're gonna rack up points slowly, and then right before they win or 2 turns before they win, you want to try to go in, set up a big wall and prevent them from winning. So that's like one general game plan you'll mostly follow in this meta. The second one is the one where you actually have to fight, which is like more of a regular Riftbound experience. So you'll probably play like a 5-drop and then maybe like a 7-drop, and then like during this time, you might actually want to go in because the first strategy, you actually just stay in base the whole time and you threaten them by like not letting them commit too much to the battlefields, but you don't actually fight them half the time. But the second game plan is actually to fight them. This is for any sort of aggro matchup or any matchup that they cap higher than you. So let's say Detonate Draven. So those ones, you actually want to go in, get points, put like one big dude on each battlefield and develop in base, so that you force your opponent to sort of commit something to get over each big dude, and then the next dude you just push over with an even bigger dude. So that's like the second strategy, and the deck has a lot of good ways to play into that with the punch first, with the Doran's Blades, with the Dire Wing accelerated. So there's two ways to play this deck, and obviously they will change depending on the matchup, and sometimes you will want to develop and then you want to fight and then you want to go back to developing. So but a lot of the times you'll just notice your main goal in the matchup is just to develop or just to fight. So that's how I would like sort of categorize the gameplay for this deck. So lucky for you guys, I actually did a online tournament last week. I think it was the Friday Night Fights, which was rebranded from the Thursday Night Fights. And I actually got a good amount of gameplay footage from that. I mainly played in the tournament for gameplay, and it was a small tournament. I think it was like 8 people, but I got second place, barely losing to the first place player. And I got some really good gameplay footage. I played against an aggro deck, I played against a control deck, and I played against a mid-range deck. So I'm going to pull up the gameplay footage of that, and we can just go over it, and I'll tell you about my thought process and how I was trying to play each game. All right, so over here, I have a best of 3. I'm playing against Draven here, and I believe I lose the first game. Let me see if I can just sort of skip forward a little bit. So we'll see. I think because I see the Reaver's row, I know it's mid-range Draven. So I have something really good, which is Aurora, and usually we want to keep at least a 5-drop. I think getting rid of the Show of Strength here was actually a mistake. We want to keep the Sabotage because Sabotages are just really strong against Draven in general. So near the end of the game, we actually want to keep all 3 Sabotages if possible. But I think my main issue here is I kind of greeted with the Dune Drake. I don't think... Oh, I actually got rid of the Sabotage and the Show Strength. I think the reason I got rid of them is because I wanted to see if I can mulligan into a Herald of Scales. Because if I could get Herald of Scales going, I think I'm going first. So if I can play Herald of Scales on turn 2, that would be absolutely massive. Unfortunately, I do not hit. I did have to sacrifice a Sabotage for it, but I don't think that's a big deal. My opponent starts off with a stack deck into a Hopeful, so they do have a turn 1 play. Unfortunately, my turn 1 and turn 2 are nothing. Didn't hit Doran's, we didn't hit Herald, but it's not the worst. Usually for the yeah, I won the coin flip here, which is pretty solid. That basically gives me an extra turn. And then, but my opponent is playing very aggressive. They immediately send in the Kaisa Accelerated, going to 2 points right on their second turn. So that's pretty bad for me because now they're going to go from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. So I'm on a really tight timer here, especially with the Kaisa Accelerated. I think that's actually really strong that they've had that. And the only way I can punish this is if I had Blazing Scorcher Accelerated. Unfortunately, I do not, so I'm forced to play the Dune Drake just in base, and that allows my opponent to pull back. So there's two ways this deck could have punished this start, is if I had a Blazing Scorcher Accelerated, or if I had a Minotaur Reckoner, because if I had a Minotaur Reckoner, my opponent would be stuck at both battlefields, and I could potentially get a really easy trade on the next turn. And then, but because I have the Dune Drake, I am able to ramp to 7, and then I can slap down an Aurora right after. My opponent does actually decide to stay, plays the Fan. They want to defend the Kaisa, and then I think they clear my, yeah, so they play a Falling Star to clear my Dune Drake. So you see, in this situation, if I had like an Unyielding Spirit or something, or if I had a Doran's Blade turn 1, my Dune Drake would not die here because it would be, I would able to protect it with 7 might, and then I would also have like, like a Unyielding if I had Unyielding. But that's in my sideboard. Right now, even though my opponent has like no runes, I'm in a pretty bad spot because they're going to 6 points next turn. And the only thing I can do here is play Aurora, which won't really hit me anything good. It does hit me something decent, which is a Minotaur, but at this point it's like, okay, yeah, I got my opponent stuck. I have to basically clear both battlefields, and if they decide to like, so they go to 6 on this, which is very bad. All they have to do is develop a little in base, but they actually decide to just play a Fan and then leave 3 runes up. So basically saying that they have like Rebuke or something similar. And I'm not at this point, I have to clear at least one side because they're at 6, and I don't really have as much on my I basically have to clear one side and then try to develop one in base so I can clear the other side. I think I'm trying to think if I made a mistake here because, I mean, if they have Rebuke, it's pretty bad. My Minotaur will basically get pushed back, and then I'd have to play something really, really, really suboptimal. So here, I think the play I do is I'm pretty sure I Stormbringer, and then I just play a sad like Herald. But I wonder if that's even correct here, because I think I want to move into Reavers with my Minotaur on the Stormbringer. I can clear everything in Reavers. And then, but the thing is, if my opponent has like a Darius plus something, they can just go over my Minotaur. So I have to hold up like Punch first. That prevents me from developing. But I do have the Aurora. So if the Aurora flips me like a Catagrin in base, it's not too bad. I saw the Falling Star the next turn to clear the left side. But let's see what I do. I Stormbringer in. I clear that. I go to 1. And then my opponent taps 2. And they do have the Rebuke as I predicted because there's no reason they're holding up 3 for nothing. They do Rebuke me, which is very unfortunate because now their left side can just pull back. And that is correct on their part, because the thing is, because they Rebuke me, they can pull back the next turn, and if they have any Accelerate, they just win. So let's see what they do here. So yeah, I think the other option I have is I could Falling Star the left side and then kill the Kaisa, but as long as they have an Accelerate, they just win the game here. So I think I just play a Herald, and the Aurora flips off another Herald, which is pretty sad. But they do have the Tide Turner in hand, which pulls back the Kaisa and lets Conquer to 8. So yeah, that game, to be honest, I don't think there was just much I could do. My opponent did the right choice early on by accelerating in the Kaisa, just getting those points. And I didn't really have a lot of answers. So sometimes you will just you won't just get rushed down. And that is what could happen. So in those cases, maybe I should have played a little bit more aggressively with my units. Um, but it's not like I had that many units to work with because my first Dune Drake got Falling Starred. So you'll notice that in my sideboarding, I don't even remember what I sideboard here. I think I removed my Doran's Blades, I removed my Forerunners. I actually put in, do I put in an Unyielding? No, I don't. I put in some other stuff. I feel like I should have taken out a Punch first or two, but I don't know. Oh yeah, I put in the challenge, the Falling Star, because both are really good against Draven. So game two, I'm on my Aspirants game. We keep Catagrin because we need the card draw, I think. The Bryn is not useful because we're probably defending. Do we get rid of the Catagrin? That's kind of risky. I guess the reason we're getting rid of Catagrin is here is because we want to go for Aurora. So, and I keep the Doran's Blade and the Minotaur because I'm afraid of the Falling Star. So, I actually don't know if getting rid of the Catagrin is correct here. It's debatable. It's debatable because like sometimes like if you don't have Herald of Scales, the Catagrin like loses a lot of value because you can't dump as many units after you draw. So sometimes it's just worth mulliganing for Aurora in these mid-range matchups. So I get super lucky here. I get a turn one play, and my opponent actually misses two drop. And I think it was actually a little bit scuffed because they I think they chose the wrong battlefield. They should have chosen Obelisk here, and because they accidentally chose Targon's Peak, we basically get a whole extra turn to ourselves. So we're basically playing with two Aspirants climbs, and we also went first. So I'm in a very advantaged position here, especially because my opponent should be at least 1 point here, and I'm basically just like 1 point ahead because of that, or I get one extra point in terms of time. I do play the Minotaur, and I think I'm debating whether to attach the Doran's Blade. I mean, if I had Unyielding, I wouldn't attach it, but because ooh, that is risky. I think the reason I don't attach it here is because if my opponent Falling Stars it, that's actually not the worst because I have another Minotaur and I can still trap their Draven at the battlefield, so it's not that big of a deal. They do Mind Splitter me, so they get to see my hand, and obviously they get rid of the the Stormbringer because that would just let me clear their battlefield for free, and I'm pretty sure they get two runes here, so they they should be able to. I think they forgot to trigger the Targons, but it doesn't matter because we top deck into an Aurora, and then you sometimes you just need a hit, just draw better, and then yeah. So I guess mulliganing the Catagrin was correct, or else we wouldn't have hit the Aurora here. We don't get anything amazing from it. We just get a Scorcher, which is fine. We ramp one and we develop. And then my opponent is stuck in there with their Mind Splitter. I feel like I should be attaching the Doran's Blade on my Minotaur here, just because in case of a Falling Star, so they don't pull back. But my opponent decides to ride the wind, the Draven to the other side, just to go to get more points, goes to 3. And then I think, because they know I don't have the Stormbringer, they decide to develop by adding more units there. So now their left side is basically 10 and their right side is 7. And I assume they're going to hide some cards, or else it would be too easy for me to go in and kill them. I assume the card they hit is probably Tide Turner because the Foff doesn't do anything, and it's not Switcheroo. It could be Edge of Night though, but I'm pretty sure I just don't do anything. Like there's just no reason to greed by going in here. And oops, sorry. I think I meant to play the Dune Drake because it's always better to play Dune Drake than Scorcher because Scorcher has like Accelerate, and then Dune Drake is also great if they're stuck at the battlefield because it gets +2. So I just play two mighty units here, and I think now I'm safe from Falling Star, and all we do is we develop because the next turn my opponent goes to 5 points. It's not a big deal. 5 points, they have nothing in base, so we're gonna be able to clear out their battlefields on the turn after anyway. And if we develop more units in base, if we hit a Catagrin or a Show of Strength, we're basically back in the game. We just draw like 7 cards, and we're basically chilling. So my opponent plays a second Splitter, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really have that many cards in hand. I just have like a Scorcher and some tricks. Obviously, the best trick here is my Punch First because it will help me get over a lot of their units. But the fact that I still have Scorcher accelerated is basically a punch first for 6. And I also have 6 damage on the Falling Star. So it's my hand isn't like particularly good. And we do rip Catagan right off the top. Um, and at this point, it's just like, okay, I'm thinking about whether I should go in with that. But why go in when you can draw, what is it, 6 cards with Catagan? So I start off, I draw 6 cards with Catagan. And the thing is, my opponent goes to 7 next turn, and this is an Aspirants game, so I still have 2 extra turns effectively. So now I have so much good stuff in hand. I have like all my tricks. Um, to be honest, I don't even have to go in this turn, mainly because I could just let them go to 7, and they have nothing in base. So I can just save like my challenge on the next turn. But I try to play it safe, and I challenge the Mind Splitter here. The reason I challenge the Mind Splitter with the Doran's Blade is because if it is an Edge Knight, I don't want to lose my Catagrin for free. So we do just challenge, and I feel like it's not an Edge Knight. It is a Tide Turner. Yeah, I do remember that. I don't know if my opponent is running Edge Knight, but they do just Tide Turner around. And are they swapping? Oh yeah, they swapped the Draven over, which is interesting because Draven, I guess Draven is at. Yeah, no, I think that's oh, Draven is not actually exhausted, so he's actually ready, which is bad because now my Doomdrake goes in at a 7, and Draven can only go up to 6. So that was actually a pretty bad swap, I think. I think they probably should have swapped it with a mine. Oh no, I don't know if they should have swapped it actually. I think it's pretty bad for them regardless because I just have so much might. I have one, two, three, four, five. I have 25 might on field, and that's enough to just go over both sides. And it's not even 25 might. It's actually 29 might because my Dune Drakes. No, my Dune Drakes only get +2 on the Draven side. And then I sabotage them because I want to be rune efficient. So I get rid of their hard bargain, which is their only useful non-unit card. They have 2 fighter flights, which are essentially useless. Their hand is just turbo bricked. And then they have a Darius. And I think I just send all my units on the other side and clear them. And now all they have is Darius, and I get to flip more cards off of Aurora. We hit a Herald, but it doesn't matter because this game is essentially won because they have 1 Darius, 2 useless cards, and a new card that they drew. So all they do is play Darius, and then I Falling Start, and then I'm pretty sure they play Forerunner, and then yeah, they got nothing good. We just go to game 3. And game 3 is our Obelisk game. And I think because they messed up their battlefield order, they actually gave me a double Obelisk game, which, okay, this isn't going to happen in your Draven games, but if it happens in like a non-Draven game, this is what's going to happen. Um, I mean, I think it's a good like way to show off what could happen with the double Obelisk. So here I have a pretty solid curve. I have like Herald, Doomdrake, Aurora. I get rid of the Direwing, but I don't actually think it's get rid of the Direwing. I think we just keep our Doomdrake and Direwing as well, because we can't ramp to 9 in like a good amount of time. So my opponent does get to always hit a 4-drop here. They Draven, but that's fine because we start off with a 5-drop and we get a mobilize as well, go to 6. And that's pretty good. Unless if my opponent has a Falling Star, I do lose it, but I'm gonna go to set 8 runes next turn, which is kind of big. If I was playing Dead Bloom, I'd be really happy. But yeah, they accelerate a Kaisa into the other side. I don't know if this is correct because like I feel like they have to hide some cards. So I guess they're stack decking for like some hiddens. And then do they hide any cards here? Oh yeah, they do hide a card on the Kaisa side. So now it's not. I can't just necessarily go in with my Doomdrake because if that's like that card, if it's an Edge Knight, I will get blown out. If it's a Fighter Flight, I do let them cycle, I guess. So I think at this point, this is where I should have kept the Direwing because I could have played turn 1 Doomdrake, turn 2 Direwing, and that's essentially a 13 might or 12 might, which I could easily go over that Draven at least in this case, or go over the Kaisa. So I think yeah, getting rid of the Direwing was a bit of a mistake, but I do have the Bryn and a Doran's Blade. So this is actually enough for me to clear both sides, which is actually kind of nasty. Was that a top deck? What happened here? Oh no, I had the Bryn initially, and I had a challenge into the Doran's Blade. So I want to see what exactly that hidden card is. It is a Tide Turner. So do we swap? Probably not. So that now we have 6 on one side, 4 on the other. And now it's just like, okay, now my opponent gets punished pretty hard because all I do is I Doran's Blade onto my Dune Drake. I walk in, I clear 2 free guys for free, and then I save up the challenge next turn if I want to hit the Draven. So my opponent's stack decks, I guess they're looking for stuff to develop. They play a Hopeful and a Treasure Hunter, and they actually tap out and leave the Draven at the battlefield. I guess they don't expect me to accelerate. Like if I had Direwing here, they would get punished pretty hard. But one good thing about this deck is that not a lot of people know about what it can do. So they'll just leave like 6 might on a battlefield tapped out, I guess. And then if I did have a Direwing, I would punish. But in this case, it's kind of a weird situation because I do want to play Aurora here, but I also want to get rid of the Draven. So, but I think the correct play is to play the play a unit, challenge the Draven. So I move back. I think I do what happened there? Oh yeah. I do play the wait. We play Aurora? Uh, that's actually kind of interesting. I actually don't know if Aurora is the best thing here to do. Like, sure, it does give me an extra Aurora trigger, this game because my opponent's on 3. They go to 5 next turn at most. But the issue is if I can kill that Draven here, my opponent has to basically go on to 2 battlefields with a Hopeful and a Treasure Hunter, and then I will have at least 3 mighty units in base to pressure them. So I actually don't think the Aurora here is the best play. But funny enough, I do hit a Cadogan, which is a nasty high roll. And I draw 3 cards. I draw some pretty good cards too. And then I guess we're just getting the Aurora engine rolling, which I think it's debatable which way you want to play. But it's not, I don't think either way is particularly better. I actually now reviewing this, I feel like the other line with the challenge is it could be a little bit like potentially better because it forces my opponent to move all their units to the base, and now like I guess the only downside is they will go to 5 and I can only challenge the Draven in base. So the Hopeful stays alive, but I don't know. Maybe I got punished by like a splitter here. No, they didn't play enough for splitter. I think they play Ferris, which is very annoying actually, very sticky. And then they tap out with a what do they tap out with? Oh, I think they played everything. Oh, they Falling Star, my Bryn. And this is where my one copy of Unyielding comes into clutch. It's a little bit of a bold move, but I do save my Bryn with the Unyielding. And let's see. Let's see. What do I do here? I mean, at this point, I get the free trade onto the Treasure Hunter, and I need to put a big dude in the other side. I think it's fine for me to leave Cadogan at a battlefield because my opponent doesn't have any really small units, so they get less value from Switcheroo. If they do want to rebuke Cadogan, it's whatever, I think. But and it forces them to commit a little bit more. I think I play. What do we play here? We play the Minotaur because we don't want fighter flights to be available for my opponent. And then we walk in with the Dune Drake on the left side. I think we just want to have the biggest guy potentially. We play another Dune Drake in base. And why are we not walking the Dune Drake? No, wait. Okay. I almost triggered Aurora, but I realized at this point I'm really far ahead. So you basically want to make your opponents commit as many resources on each battlefield and then push them back later. So I move the Dune Drake with the Doran's Blade because if it dies, I get the Doran's Blade again. I can attach to something bigger and go in right after. So we got 7 and 9 on the battlefield, which is a pretty daunting amount of might. And my opponent goes into the right side with Forerunner and Hopeful. I think I just killed the Forerunner here because it is larger. I don't know if is that correct? I'm not actually sure. We do just, yeah. And then my opponent ride the winds, the Noxus over. And I don't think they trigger Draven here. So I can only kill the Draven. They do draw a card. And then they're able to pull back with an Noxus. I think I forgot that Ride the Wind readied the unit. I think I think I should have actually just killed the Noxus and not the Draven because I could just kill the Draven on the pushback on the next turn. So, but now they get to move the Noxus back to base. Oh, they can't. They can't. I have Minotaur. We both forgot. I mean, I think yeah. So I think it was correct killing the Draven because the Noxus is basically stuck there, and I have Minotaur, and it's ready. So the Dune Drake coming in gets +2, and then they tap out, which is basically saying, okay, enjoy your free Noxus hopeful, and I'm guessing they might have something like a spinning axe in hand, which turns all of their guys into pretty beefy guys. So we do have to worry about that. So I send the Dune Drake over here. We kill it. We send Bryn to the other side. We go to 6, and now we have to defend against their next push. And if they have a spinning axe, that means they should be able to clear us unless we hit something crazy. So we I think all we do here is we play. What are we playing? Oh, we play a Volibear. I don't actually know if this is correct, but I think the reason we play a Volibear here is we just want like a really large unit with a lot of might. And I think I could play Scorcher and the girl, but that's only 8. Volibear is 9. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. I could do 2 girls. I think it was actually 2 girls and a blazing scorcher. I think the reason we don't scorcher here is because we want to keep it for the accelerate and also potentially combo it with Stormbringer. So I think that's why. But the thing is, we need to keep up 11 runes. I think we have 11, right? We do get punished by hard bargain though if I lose all my units in base. And then I think we attach. Yeah, we attach this to Bryn. Okay, that seems about right. And I think we move one more Minotaur to the other side, just in case my opponent has enough might. Do they really have like I think if they have rebuke, if they rebuke volley, they actually might have enough might to go over. But I also do have the Aurora. So here I'm like being a little hesitant on what to do. You basically just want to make sure that you can reinforce both sides. I do hit the Scorcher. I feel like I need to put the Scorcher on the Bryn side. I don't know what we're doing here. I really don't know why we did that. I think the Scorcher, like I should have moved the Minotaur to Bryn's side and then played the Aurora item on the other side because the smaller side with the Minotaur might be a little bit more tempting for my opponent. I think stacking that one side is a bit of a mistake because if my opponent goes on the other side and then falling starts my Minotaur, my only out is Scorcher with Stormbringer. And if they have like a hard bargain, I could get punished pretty hard. So they do end up super stacking the right side. And yeah, I mean at this point I just punish with the Stormbringer and the game is over. So yeah, that's the mid-range Draven matchup. As you can see, for most of these games, you basically just want to develop in base until you have a sufficient amount of might where you can actually try to contest your opponent. And if your opponent ends up tapping out, that's when you can. I think like normally they should be tapping out against you because or else you're just gonna build way too much might. But the thing is, they can't tap out every turn because then they won't have enough spells to sort of combat you. The thing is, if you do have the Minotaur down, like the only spell they have that can combat you is basically the Rebuke. So that's the tricky part with Draven because like if you don't have Rebuke, you can only develop and you might as well tap out every turn. But then if you tap out every turn, I'm gonna tap out. I'm gonna develop faster, and you're just gonna be able to overwhelm them with might. So yeah, that's the Draven matchup. Let me pull up the next one. All right, here we have another matchup. This one is against Irelia, and I actually misunderstood what this matchup was because I thought it was a typical mid-range Irelia, but this is actually an aggro Irelia list. So here I am, I'm mulliganing my punch first. I think Catagon is fine to mulligan against aggro Irelia, but I'm getting rid of punch first, which is a big no-no. Because I'm trying to dig for Aurora, and yeah, okay, so we keep keep our 2 late game cards, our Catagon and Show of Strength, when we really need the Scorcher and the Punch first. So my mulls this game were horrible, were absolutely terrible because I didn't know it was aggro Irelia. And then I see the fan and I'm like, wait a minute. That's an Emperor's Dais. The one where you can, if you get there, you can retrieve your unit for 1 energy and get a Sand Soldier. So yeah, we're already off to a rough start. We did hit a pretty good turn 2 with the Herald, and I think I won the coin flip. So I have like 1 extra turn ahead of me. And yeah, so I'm at this point I'm like a little surprised because it's like, oh no, it's aggro Irelia. I just mauled away my 2 anti-aggro cards, the Scorcher and the Punch First. Well, we did hit another Punch First. But because of mulliganing away the Scorcher, we lost. We're at 6 runes, and we have no turn. 5 mana mighty unit. So like if I had the Scorcher in hand, I could just accelerate it into the fan, and my opponent is forced to just lose the fan at least. So, yeah. And here's the kicker: because I have Herald, I can actually accelerate it in, and then for like 4, and then keep up, and then I can actually challenge here onto the Irelia and clear out my opponent. Like I could have just won on turn 2, if I didn't mulligan away my other units. So yeah, we got crazily punished with that mulligan here. I'm just spending some time to read the Emperor's Dais. I do send the Herald in because there's no reason not to. And I technically could still kill the Aurelia with a Punch First into challenge, but that's just not it. That's just not it. So I'm like thinking about, oh, should I return my Herald? And I think at this point it's like, is it actually worth returning it? It actually might have been because I just lose it for free anyway. Because I could pay 1 and then return it and then still keep 1 up for Punch First. So my opponent goes in with Irelia at 5. I'm like, oh, was that 50? No, it's 5. And then is there a reason why I don't Punch First here? I guess it's just like I don't know my opponent's hand. So even if I punch first, they could have like the they could have Defiant Dance, which is enough. So we don't try to risk it. We just let them take it, whatever. And then they use the Dais to target the Aurelia, which is kind of a nasty combo. They target it, and then they don't pay, and then this allows them to bring back the Aurelia for 1 power, which I was like, wow, that's a cool combo. And then they slam down the Yasuo Wind Rider, and I'm pretty sure in this matchup, I was talking to my opponent afterwards. They mentioned that the Wind Rider, they thought they had enough time to get value out of it, but I think playing the Wind Riders against me actually was one of the reasons they ended up losing in the end. Because okay, here is kind of awkward. I don't really have like a good curve. I really want to play Aurora, but I'm at 1 rune off. So if I kept that Blazing Scorcher, I would have enough to play Aurora. So I'm just playing a Catagrin just to not waste all my runes and keep something up. I keep 1 up for Punch First because I'm wondering if they have Charm or something. But realistically, I could have sabotaged here, and I could have just sabotaged the Charm out if they had one. So they end up going to both sides, and then they trigger Irelia to move the Yasuo back, I think. And then they Tide Turner it, and then I think they get an extra movement, right? So they go to 3 with a 2 conquer. They move it over again, and then they Tide Turner it to get the extra point off of Yasuo Wind Rider. So they jump straight to 5 here, and I'm like, I'm a little worried. I'm really getting rushed out. So yeah. So the Wind Rider bounces back and forth, gets an extra point because it moves 3 times in 1 turn, and I'm like, oh crap, am I cooked? Um, but for some reason, I think I end up winning this game. You'll see I top deck the Minotaur, which is actually nasty. I do have the Sabotage, so I can get perfect information from their hand. I play the Sabo, and then I see they have the Defiant Dance, Rebuke, and the other two like crappy units. So for sure I get rid of the Rebuke because I know I have Catagrin Punch First. There's no way they can get over me. And then I think all I do is I play. I think I play. I don't even go on the other side, do I? Is that correct? I feel like. What am I doing here? I think we play the Minotaur, yes. So now the fan's useless. And do we just go on the left side with Catagrin with punch first? Yeah, so we go Catagrin left side. So they're at 6 to my 9. And now I'm basically forcing out a Define Dance, but that doesn't even matter because I have punch first. Yeah, so they Define Dance my my girly here, which goes to 1, which is rather sad because now I can't clear the Tide Turner. And now my Catergan will clearly evenly trade with their left side. And I think I actually, instead of punch firsting the Catergan, I am okay with letting it trade because in this case, I can actually just punch first my girly, go into Tide Turner, and then challenge the Asshole Wind Rider in the back. So and then I basically clear my opponent of all their units. And at that point, like that's how you win the aggro matchup. You just clear all their units. Or I don't even need the thing. So I think I'd rather keep. So I kept the punch first, so I can go over their Tide Turner here. So it's kind of feels bad because we're basically punch firsting for 2 might, but we need to get rid of their unit. So we punch first the girly, and then we send her in over the Tide Turner, and then basically clear out all their things, and that's pretty much it. I feel like at this point the game is almost over because even though like my opponent has no, I guess they still have 2 units. They still have 2 units. They're able to draw. They go over my girl, and then they go to 6, and they actually bounce it back, the merchant back. So I'm not in the best spot here, but it could be worse. It could be worse. So I mean, at least I drew a unit. I mean, my deck is mostly a unit. So the fact that I drew a unit here is not even a high roll. And it's a pretty solid one. We're basically drawing a mighty unit anyway. Like even if it was a Scorcher, it'd be fine. So I go in with the Minotaur. That thing dies. I play the Dire Wing, and we just pass. And the only way I think I lose here is if my opponent has like, if they like somehow bounce their units back and forth. But I know they have a Traveling Merchant in hand, so it can't even be like anything crazy. They actually draw a lot. They have three crappy units, and I was just like, okay, now there's not much they can do. I think all I do here is I want to make sure I don't get run over. Like, what can they even do? Like, there's nothing really they can draw that goes over all my units, right? Like, it's not like they have Spinning Axe. Um, so I send Direwing in. I just want to make the wall here, and then I wonder if the play is actually just show of strength and try to draw like a falling star or something. And what is the play? Oh, I think I play my vault. No, is that correct? I don't think this is correct. I think it's actually play Volibear on the left side, and then I think I do the Dire Ring because I want to see if I can draw a 3rd unit, so I can get like a falling star off of the show strength. But I think the correct play here is actually play Volibear on the left side and then keep the Dire Wing to run into the right side if my opponent tries to go on the right side. But then I get punished by like potentially a Fight or Flight if they clear the right side. So they do end up going to the right side, which is fine because I have the Dire Ring sitting in the base, and I decide to kill off those 2. And then I think I should have showed of strength here, but at this point, they move in the merchant just to get a draw, and they have nothing, and they're basically out of gas. And I'm just playing like a big unit every turn, so there's not much they could do. I go into the right side, and then what is there for them to do now? I think I play a Ferris on the other side. I show strength. I draw a bunch of weapons, and I think we just attach them, right? I don't think attaching it to Ferris is like a good idea here. Um, yeah. I really don't think so. I think it was attach all my weapons to the Dire Ring on the left side because the only thing that they could have that messes me up is Rebuke. But then if they Rebuke, I can come in with the Dire Ring again on the next turn with the 2 Dorans. So yeah, no, you don't want to attach Doran's Blade here. But yeah, so my opponent, they go in. I think they clear out the Dire Ring, and they go to something. What happens here? They fall off my other guy? Oh, I mean, oh, okay, it doesn't matter because I'm at 7 points. I'm at 7 points. So, like, they have to clear out both sides. And I think they tried digging for another FOF here. They pushed me out. And yeah, the game's over. The game's over at this point. So yeah, the reason I split up the Doran's Blades is because I was holding to 8. Whoops. I think during this tournament, I was actually playing kind of on autopilot, and to be honest, even like reviewing this footage, I'm also kind of autopiloting. But you know, sometimes that's the good thing about this deck because sometimes you can autopilot, and if you won't get punished too hard, mainly because the deck is pretty easy to play. Obviously you could get punished like my last game at Vegas, but I think the odds are generally pretty low. So yeah, actually I think yeah, so you'll notice in my siding on game 2 against the aggro deck, I move all the auroras, I even remove a Catagrin, and then I put in all my kill spells. Just because that's like pretty optimal for what I want to do. And then we're doing an Arena's Greatest versus Obelisk. So I'm pretty unfavored here, but I do have a really strong starting hand. I have Challenge Punch first, Doran's Blade, Doomdrake. So I pretty much have everything I want, except for like if Doomdrake was like a Blazing Scorcher would be good, or a Minotaur. But I do top deck draw into the Minotaur, which is amazing. So now my opponent goes in with the Merchant. They go to they go. Why did I? Why? Oh, because we were at arenas, so we were both at 1. They play the sneaky. They jump to 3, and at this point, oh man, my hand was insane this game. Like I had like the perfect anti-aggro hand. I top deck into a Blazing Scorcher, which basically just says I can get in there and kill a unit. They do have 2 up, so they could like try to fight or flight me. That's the only thing that I'm worried about. I mean, one thing I could do is I could just play the Minotaur in base. But I think it's just a little safer to try to clear a side. So we accelerate, we also attach, and we don't really care too much about runes here because we don't care about ramping that much. We just want to clear out their units. I kill off the merchant, which is great. Now they can't keep cycling their cards, and I feel like yeah, because I went in with 7, I don't get blown out by Defiant Dance. I do get blown out by double Defiant Dance. But given that the fact that they're an aggro I really list, I don't know if they really run 3. That's another thing. I don't really know, right? They could run more. I could have gotten punished, but I think in that previous turn, maybe playing the Minotaur was the safer play. But I didn't really get punished too hard there, so that was pretty nice. So my opponent just leaves the sneaky there, and because I guess they assume I can't send in another unit, but if I accelerate a dire wing here, wouldn't they just lose the sneaky for free? Um, so what do we do? They have 2 up. I'm like debating if I want to challenge here because like if I can kill that Irelia, that's like humongous. Um, let's see. I think we play a Minotaur in base. I'm thinking if I want them to go to 6 or not. I think I actually play it safe. I don't even challenge the Irelia because if they do have Defiant Dance, it can actually get quite large. So I think my play here is like I don't want them to go to 6 easily, and I don't want to risk hitting the Irelia. So I just end up challenging the sneaky deckhand because for them to get up to 7 with sneaky, they would need the double Defiant Dance, which I know they don't have. I do force out a Defy, which is I guess it's fine because if anything was going to defied, my challenge was going to get defied anyway. And then they do sneaky again. They go to 6, which is a little troublesome because now I have to deal with that. But the good thing is I do have they just left up 6 runes, which is a lot, or 5 runes. And I do have a die ring, which is quite good. And we go in. I guess my opponent doesn't have enough to counter a 7 might push. So I don't even need to send in the Minotaur. I can just leave it in base. And then all I need to do is send the Dire Wing in. And assuming they don't have like they can't FOF me. So because of the Minotaur. So I just go in, I kill off the other sneaky. And I think my opponent is thinking. They just let it die, which I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Now I can save up 2 for punch first. I didn't have to commit punch first here. And I have 2 7 mites, which is like a wall for an aggro deck. And then I think my opponent's thinking about what to do. So they go in with Irelia. They unguard her. She goes to 8. I decide to punch first, try to force out something on my opponent's side. And I think do I get rebuked here? Let's see what happens. Oh, she gets the Defiant Dance, so that goes over for sure. And now they're at 7, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of dicey. How do I kill that? How did I come back from this game? Oh, now I know. Now I know. I think I hit the nuts on the category and draw. Because this is like pretty hopeless for me. The only way I get over this is with a Stormbringer or like a challenge of some sort. But oh yeah. I remember what happened here. So we play our only out, which is Cadogan. Because at this point I'm like, okay, the only thing I need is a punch first, because they can't play Rebuke or anything. So I'm Cadoganing, I draw 3 cards. And then we get rid of 2, we draw 3, and we hit the absolute nuts. We hit our punch first on the last card, and now our Minotaur can go in with a 10 might, and they just use Defiant Dance. So their fan is also useless because of Minotaur, and then I think that kills both the Irelia and the thing. So I go to 6, 7, and I realize I should have played the Catagrin in the left side because I was actually at 6 points. Um, but I messed up that. So I was just like, you know what, we'll just leave it in base. Can't I don't like I feel like it wouldn't be right to take back that action. But my opponent reveals they had nothing in hand. They actually messed up because they kept Yasuo Windrider in their hand, I think, and that kind of like bricked them the whole game because the Windrider really isn't that useful against me, especially if I'm like putting like a big unit at the battlefield. Like they would have to shuffle the Windrider like back and forth between one battlefield to get value. And it's also like I think they just want to go faster if possible. So that was the game against an aggro Irelia. I feel like against other aggro decks, you want to play somewhat similarly. You don't want your Auroras. You don't really want care about Catagrin except for obviously digging for something. But even a Show of Strength would have done the same thing. And you just want to fight, place a big unit at each side, and go in with whatever you have in base the turn after. So yeah, that's the game plan against aggro. Moving on, I have one more best of 3, which is the finals of this tournament against a control matchup. So this is the final match in the finals where I am playing against a Kaisa. Technically, this matchup is like slightly favored for me as long as I'm after game 1, because I'll have my Unyielding Spirits. And if I hit Doran's Blade, it's like even more favored. But I don't know. I think I played really sloppily this game. We did go to game 3, so we did get some pretty good games out of this. But yeah. I think if I played a little cleanly, I think in my games I had a lot of pretty bad misplays. But just to show that even against control matchups, it's like you have a pretty good matchup in general. So I think I did get bailed out here because my opponent missed their turn 1 play. And then turn 2, they actually play Yordle instead of Kaisa, which is actually an interesting choice. Because I guess they are okay with sacking Yordle for a point, but they're not okay with sacking Kaisa for a point. That's the only guess I have here. And I think when the mulligan phase, I honestly forgot what I mulled, but I think I was mulling for Aurora, and I did hit the Auroras here. Uh, what do I do here? So my opponent taps out, basically saying, okay, yeah, you can come in with Scorcher for free. And Scorcher is generally pretty safe against this type of Kaisa because the only thing they have to kill it is Singularity. They don't really have Void Seeker anymore. Um, so I think at this point I play, what do I play here? I play Falling Star is no good because you only really kill one thing. You don't want to play another Scorcher because you get punished by Singularity. So, oh, why did I do that? I Falling Star their Kaisa. Is that correct? Now I get punished by Singularity, right? What's going on? I guess they don't have Singularity. They send in the They're sending in the oh, okay. They play a Watcher unaccelerated, so their hopeful walks in for free. And then I mean that's basically, you always want to trade with the hopeful here if possible. And if my opponent has no Hextech Ray, I get a free kill, which is quite nice. Now the only downside is the Scorcher's there and dies to the Watcher, but the fact that I can just play Aurora on curve means I can sort of back up the Scorcher. And I know they don't have Singularity, so I just play the Direwing. Uh, Why am I not playing it at Void Gate? I guess the reason I don't want to play Dire at Void Gate is because I'm scared of Singularity. But I feel like I shouldn't be scared of Singularity because if they had Singularity, they would have played Singularity the turn after, the turn before. So that was a questionable play. They got a free trade onto my Scorcher, and then they Rocket Barrage my Aurora, which is making me think I probably shouldn't have Aurora in this matchup. So their Rocket Barrage is useless. Um, I don't think I sided them out because I was playing a little dumb this game. But yeah, so they do put in the Watcher. So I got punished by not putting the Dire Wing with the Blazing Scorcher. So we just walk in, we do like a really dumb play here. Like this is just stupid. Like why I get they don't have Singularity, but they should have Stupefy. And I walk in and I just got I was thinking is like I could play around Stupefy or I could just try to like swing in for fun. And then they stupefy me and I lose a Dire Ring for free. So this was a very, very sloppy game. So and then I play an Aurora here, which it's like, okay, fine. I'm not even gonna hit anything good. I mean, actually the Ferris is quite good. But I think like it shouldn't have even been Aurora here. It should have just been Catagrin, and then next turn I can have Catagrin, Direwing, both accelerated. So this game I'm already like playing poorly right off the bat. They do send in the Yordle, they play the Hopeful in base, they pull back the Watcher, and now I'm in a pretty bad spot. They're at 5. I have to play around Time Warp basically, and I go in with the Ferris. I stack that side. But I don't think it matters because all they need is time warp and then they win. And then I think I play the blade. Where do I play it? It doesn't matter, right? We don't even play it, I think. We just play the Dune Drake in base. In base, yeah. Yeah. So and then they go in, they time warp, and then they push for the win. So oh wait, do they double time warp me? They time warp once. I show strength, it doesn't even matter. And then they time warp me again. Yeah. So they go in, they double time warp, and then we go to game 2. So that game was I think it was basically lost when I didn't decide to put the Dire Wing with the Blazing Torture because I'm playing around cards that don't exist in my opponent's hand. So yeah, that was pretty bad. Pretty bad. I think here I should be swapping out the Auroras and putting in the Thunder Song and another Ferris and the Unyieldings. Do I take them out? Let's see. What do we do here? Falling. So we take out all the falling stars. I think that's fine. Is it actually fine? No, I think it's. We took out the forerunners too. I don't actually agree with what I did here. Um, but you know what? I think I do win this game, so it's not like it mattered. The thing is, we are on aspirants, so this is like super favored for us. And I have we're basically hard mulling for Aurora here. I actually would get rid of the Stormbringer. I think the Stormbringer plus the I don't know. Stormbringer plus challenge maybe. No, Stormbringer plus show of strength. I think that's the play. The Doran's Blade is just so good for the math fixing, and the challenge is just good for clearing out like a Kaisa or something. Yeah. Okay. I do end up getting rid of those. So this is reasonable. And then we start off at 3. We play the Doran's Blade. Great start. We can Doran's Blade into Minotaur attach, so it doesn't die to Falling Star. And then I'm pretty sure that's exactly what we do. We do Doran's Blade, Minotaur attached. My opponent plays 2 guys, Poro, Hopeful, and then they do get to conquer to 2. So they have a pretty solid start here. But now they have to like either develop or try to save their units from my Minotaur coming in. And then so what do we do here? What do we do? They tap all 5? Oh, all 6 for a Ferris. And now this is actually really good because I can. What can I do? I can clear both sides. I think I can just. Well, no, I have to clear. I can clear one side. I can. Sab? No. Yeah, I have punch first. Yeah. So we have to play a little bit more aggro. I think we're always punch first. We're always playing challenge here. I think. But how? What is the sequence? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, maybe we don't even. We just ramp. Show strength, maybe. I think, and then just try to get in next turn. I think that's fine. I think that's actually fine. I think show strength here is okay. Or I mean, we just get a free trade. Yeah, I think this is correct. We get a free trade onto the Poro. Next turn, our Dune Drake is at 7 going in. So, and then we can even show a strength just to draw some cards. And I think I challenge? Uh, I mean, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. It could be worse. Could be worse. There's no real reason to challenge here. I think show strengthening would have been fine in case we do get singularity stupefied. So another kind of sloppy decision here. My opponent plays Kaisa, and do they do anything? They keep 3 up. So now I can. What do I do? I just play Categorin. I just play Categorin. Okay. Uh, what do I get punished by? I get punished by double stupefy right now if I go in onto that thing. So I think I just pass. Let my opponent hold up 3 for nothing. And now I'm pretty far ahead. This is an aspirants game, so they still have a lot of turns to go. They do get to progress state, which is a little bit annoying because that lets them dig for a lot of their answers. And then they continue. They keep 3 up. Oh, okay. They do have the stupefy into falling star, which kills my minotaur, which kind of sucks. Because it would be nice to save that guy. Because now the Ferris gets to go home for free, and then they send the Kaisa in to go to 5. So this is kind of bad because now they're at 5, but it also means they're tapped out, so I can basically kill Kaisa for free. Um, so I'm pretty sure we start off with a sabotage because they have a lot of cards in hand. Um, and I think we try to sniffing tool their hand here. Whoops. And they have a lot of stuff. You'll notice that they do have the rocket barrage. So this is one reason why we should be siding out our auroras just because of rocket barrage. And it's basically a useless card in hand. They do have 2 get excited and a time warp, which is kind of dangerous for our Categorin. The thing is, I think the main thing we want to kill here is with the sabotage is either time warp or progress day. If we get rid of time warp, they can't get excited our Categorin. But I think in my experience in the Kaisa matchup, you actually want to get rid of the progress day because the progress day lets them draw infinite. Like it will let them draw like the rest of their time warps. So I think what I do here is I actually get rid of the I get rid of the progress day. So they're basically stuck with whatever cards they have in hand. They do have the Sentry and the Yordle, but it's gonna decrease their draw by a lot. So we go into both sides. We create the wall, and we do have the Unyielding Spirit for the get excited. So that's why I don't really care too much about, like, obviously they're gonna be able to kill my Categorin eventually because they have 2 get exciteds, but the fact that they can't draw like 4 more cards and replenish the hand, and get like even more time warps to throw with get excited is kind of key. So we just beef up both battlefields. Whoops, oh, I slipped. We beef up both battlefields and we leave a little bit up for punch first in case they like come in with Watcher. And we also put a unit in the back, which is quite nice. I wonder if I should have played Direwing in the back though, because if we play Direwing in the back, it's a slightly beefier. But now we have 2 Accelerate Dragons, which is really strong. So they try starting off with the Get Excited, so I have to react with the Unyielding Spirit. Um, Basically because they get excited, I kind of know they don't have Watcher. And yeah, so they get excited. I think they toss away the Sentry because there's really nothing else to remove in their hand. Realistically, they should be tossing away the Rocket Barrage because that Rocket Barrage is absolutely useless. At least the Sentry lets them draw. So that's another reason that, like, if you side out the Auroras, like, you can just take advantage of the fact that your opponent will have gear removal and you don't need gear to win the game. So yeah, we go in. Well, my opponent just what did they do? They just play the Yordle, they draw a card, and then I think they pass because they have nothing. Yeah, so like if I did not get rid of the progress day, they would just progress day and then refill their hand with like a bunch of new cards. But because I got rid of the progress day, they're basically stuck with nothing. And now I have a whole free turn to just play another Categorin, get a bunch of free cards. And basically, even if they get excited me, it's not even a big deal because I still have bigger guys. Um, and I also have a crap ton of accelerates in hand. So, yeah, I think I just leave my units at the battlefield. I think I do move the Doomdrake up because I know if they get excited that category on one side, I can at least have another unit to punch first. So, yeah, we create the super wall, and the only thing that blows us out here is unchecked power. But I don't actually think a lot of players are running unchecked power nowadays, just because the usage is kind of rather limited. But yeah, we do get our category and get excited, which we knew it was coming eventually, but we managed to like just hold up another turn because of it, and now we're actually ahead in points. Um, and there really isn't much for them to do. They do walk in with the Ferris to try to go over, but I punish with the punch first. I wonder, even if they sent the Ferris and the Yordle, they would have still gotten punished anyway. Ferris and Yordle, that's 8, and mine is at 10. Yeah, so they would need to have like a double stupefy or something. So I think they're digging for something. Digging for like a spell for a trade. Yeah. So they Hextech Ray it. So the Ferris trades with the Doomdrake. No big deal. And I believe they just send in the Yordle to get a point. So they go to 6. Not an issue. We're quite safe in the points department. I'm like trying to figure out what that extra card they drew was. But we just accelerate Dire Ring in. It's way too big for them to clear. We go to 7. And then at this point, honestly, what are we worried about? We're worried about Watcher. We're worried about Time Warp. They only have one card in hand, so it's not that big of a deal. I think I could realistically pull back with one of my dudes on the left side and be fine, because they would have to take both sides and Time Warp. Is that possible? They do have quite a bit of might. I think I do pull back with my smaller guy, and then we see what my opponent does. Because I think right now they can go on one side with everything, go over Time Warp to 8, but then they would need to draw into another Time Warp, which is a little unlikely. Like, I think they could do that either way, even if I didn't pull back the Doomdrake. So they end up rocket barraging my Doran's Blade, because I guess they have nothing better to do. And then what are we doing? I think they Singularity. So they rocket barrage it to Singularity, which is fair. And before they do that, I want to show strength, draw some cards. I draw a bunch of useless cards, actually. I'm digging for Challenge and what's it called? Challenge and Falling Star. So they do end up clearing both my sides, which is quite impressive. But they end up with nothing. And I have double Blazing Scorcher. So they go to 7, and they go to 8. So they're basically relying on me clearing both sides. Um, Although I can't accelerate both Blazing Scorchers, I actually did get bailed out here with the... Actually, can I not accelerate both? I have double Herald. So if I play double Herald, that's 8. No, I'm missing. I'm one off. I'm one off from accelerating both. Because if double Herald, it's 8, and then I have 3 mana left. So I can only accelerate one, and then the other one I can only play. So this top deck into challenge, you could say it's a high roll, but given the fact that I drew half of my deck, I think it's actually not that high of a roll. Because I have 3 challenges, 3 falling stars. So realistically, hitting any of those would get me out of this pickle. So yeah, my opponent played really well though by clearing the board, but it doesn't matter because I have that, and I also challenge the other side. And then all I do is I keep up one for punch first. And yeah, so even if they had Watcher here, I would be fine. And then yeah, we go to game 3, and this game, do I get rid of the Auroras finally? Tell me I get rid of the Auroras, please. Got rid of the Bryn here. Thermal. What? Got rid of Falling Stars? Okay. My siding this game is really questionable. I feel like I needed to get rid of the Auroras. But yeah, we're on Obelisk. We're going second. My opponent has Reavers. I think we always keep the challenge. Yeah. The punch first is not as important just because of Reavers. And I think against Kai'Sa, punch first is not super good because it's not reaction speed. So if you get blasted by spells, you can't save your guy. And turn 2 we get Doran's Blade, pretty nice. We can save our guy from a falling star. And then my opponent accelerates Kaisa in. Um, Pretty good to get those points. I top deck my unyielding. I play Minotaur, and this is where I actually bait my opponent because I was just thinking out loud. I was saying, oh, I could attach the Doran's Blade, or I'll greet it, and um I was like basically implying that I was greeting because I didn't think my opponent had Falling Star. But what happened was, I think they do end up actually falling starring me. I mean, I could also sabotage here just to see what they have. I think sabotaging here is correct, but I don't really know. Is it really attach a sabotage, and if I see falling star, I attach? But then I mean, they could always top deck it, and I just lose. So, I just leave one up. If they falling star me, I have unyielding, and yeah, they do end up falling starring me. So I just unyielding it, which honestly, it's debatable. It's like maybe I should save the unyielding for singularity, right? So, yeah, we just play that, and then my opponent can basically just falling star and 2-drop, which is kind of unfortunate. I don't know if they can play anything else. Oh, they end up playing the hopeful to the other side, and then keeping 2 up. And now at this point, it's like, okay, now we can potentially get killed these 2 units. We sabotage, and then we see the singularity and the progress day. And this is where it's like, okay, I probably should have saved my unyielding for that singularity. So in this case, they have the thermal beam, which is like, okay, I should not have Aurora in my deck. Like they have thermal beams, they have the rocket barrage. Like we should not have Aurora in our deck. But for some reason I do. So I get rid of the progress day because progress day is just so strong for Kaisa. But yeah, we would be in a really good spot if I kept that unyielding. But unfortunately we do not. So we will have to, they only have 1 unit in hand, which is pretty dicey for them. And I think at this point I try to force a trade, I think. Do we try to force a trade? Minotaur goes in at 7. Um Or I don't think I need to force a trade, right? They go to 3 points next turn. It's not even that bad. And then what do I do here? We challenge. Oh, okay. I see what I do. Because I don't want to lose the Minotaur, so I just challenge the Dune Drake with the Kaisa. And then I walk in with the Minotaur. Um and like at most they can Hextech Ray me to trade, which isn't even like the end of the world. So I think that's what they do. They actually burn an extra rune to Hextech Raimi just for the trade. And I'm in a pretty good spot because I just cleared out my opponent's like whole board. Um, I mean, they do get to play the Ferris, which is good, quite strong. And I don't really have a very strong play here other than to play my Scorcher. So I do go to 1. I think I play the Scorcher in base. I ramp. We don't go to the other side or I'll just die for free. I think I do sabotage here. Just because we get sabotage and get rid of that singularity, which is kind of important. And yeah, my opponent doesn't really have anything good. Thermal Beam's dead in hand. Time Warp also can't be used anytime soon. So yeah, we get rid of the singularity, which is quite nice. My opponent does go in. They're threatening something with that mystery card. I don't actually remember what it was, but I don't. I think I want to play it safe, so I move back. We move back. We have to move back. What could it be? What could that mystery card be? It blows me out here. I like debating. Oh, it doesn't even matter. Yeah, I got blown out. This game should have been a 1, but I forgot that Thermal Beam kills my Doran's Blade. So I actually end up staying, and then I lose my Dune Drake for free. And I'm just like, wait a minute. I was in such a good spot, and I'm no longer in a good spot because that Thermal Beam was dead in their hand until I gave it away for free. Because like right now, if I just didn't if I didn't throw away my guy for free, I could play Minotaur and then walk in with both my guys to kill the Ferris, or not even like just leave the Ferris alone. Just play volley in base. Or I mean, I think I always want to play Minotaur here though, so they can't do anything. But I go in with Scorcher and I play volley in base. Volley's pretty good, but losing that Dune Drake just was really bad. It was really bad. My opponent goes to 4. They're getting close to the time warped threshold, so I'm getting a little worried. They pull back. They play a hopeful. Um, I go to 4, and I think we don't want them to time warp. Do we? I don't even know if we're supposed to go in with volley here. I think we could have like we have to stack because of the time warp, but I could have just like left one side. I guess we have to make both sides bigger than 10, so that they can't just they can't just walk into both in time warp. They can go walk into one in time warp. So they go into the volley. I punch first, and I think they this is a really good trade for me because they lose everything. They do get the 2 mechs again, which is kind of annoying. And then yeah, we know that they have the time warp, and we top deck a show of strength, which is kind of nasty. And you'd think this game is pretty much done and dusted, but I feel like something went wrong. Something went real wrong with this game. I mean, obviously the losing the Dune Drake was pretty bad, but then my opponent also got kind of blown out with the thingy. So what are we doing here? We don't want to get time warped. We also don't want to get watchered. So is this even correct? No. I feel like the Dune Drake needs to stay at home. Uh yeah. I feel like we made a mistake here. And then we show strength, draw 4 more cards. Hope for a falling star? Okay, we did hit the falling star. That's pretty good. We do falling star the mechs. And then yeah, I'm pretty sure the Dune Drake should be at home. I don't know why it's at the battlefield. And then now it's like, okay, I should be in a pretty good spot. The only thing I get blown out by is like unchecked power. But then even then, it's like, what are the odds that my opponent is running unchecked power? Like they didn't show it all game last game, and most decks don't run it. I think they're like thinking. What are they thinking with? They do Watcher. Yeah, yeah. So me putting the Dune Drake there, I just lose to Watcher, right? Like, that's why did I put the Dune Drake out of battlefield? It just doesn't make any sense. I didn't need to commit that many units to the battlefield because my opponent didn't have enough might to go in and time warp both sides. So yeah, I think they were trying to think about how to trade here, and yeah. So they trade the Sentry with the Dune Drake, and then their Watcher goes over for free. Um, and then they trade with a thingy over there, and now they go to 5. I know they have Time Warp in hand, which is pretty bad, especially if they have another Watcher. And then I'm at 7, so I'm thinking, okay, we just have to stack one side, I guess. So I think I just put the Catagrin on the left side. Um, yeah, so we play the Catagrin on the left side, and then we draw 2, and then we pass. And now my opponent has to clear left side, which is pretty hard to clear, theoretically speaking. And I think they do have some way to clear it because I lose this game. It's funny enough. It's like this doesn't look losable, but it is because so they get excited. They toss a singularity. Oh wait, what did they do? They get excited. They toss a progress day, and then they singularity me. So that clears both my guys, which is a big ouch. And then they move their watcher back. And I know they have time warp in hand, so I have to somehow get get rid of the watcher, I think. So what do we do here? We do 5? Wait. Oh no. Did they have time warp? They do have time warp, no? Don't I'm pretty sure I lose. Accelerate Scorcher in. I draw a card. Wait a minute. Wait. Is there a way? Do I have an out? I have to kill Watcher somehow. That challenge could help me. But how do I get in? Because like if I play Scorcher and Direwing, that doesn't even do anything. Scorcher plus Direwing it just goes. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Was there a way? Was there a way? Scorcher plus Direwing is 13 is 12. Even if I drew the challenge off of the 8th point, I don't have enough for it to kill the Watcher. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just like there's nothing I can do. They have the Watcher, they have the Time Warp. Um, yeah, I think them having the Progress Day into Singularity there was a pretty big was pretty good. I think the I wonder if there's another way I could have played this, because I can't play the Scorcher plus the Dire Ring here. Um, I mean, the other way I could do it is, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm out of options. I think I already lost the game. I think the I lost the game here when I placed the Dune Drake on the Reavers. If I did not place the Dune Drake on the Reavers, my opponent would I would basically end up with a state where I would have a Minotaur on the left and a Dune Drake in base. And if I had a Dune Drake in base, I would be able to go in with Dune Drake plus Dire Ring, and I would win this turn. But yeah, no, I misplayed. It was a little sloppy, and then at this point, like, there's nothing I could do. It was just that one turn, a few turns before the end, where I lost. Unfortunately, I didn't play around Watcher. But yeah, so this was a good example of a control game. Very winnable, I gotta say. I didn't need Aurora. You really don't. These Auroras were just sitting in my head, dead. Like they could have been like they could have been gem jammers. Nothing would have changed. So yeah. Moral of the story is this deck, if you play well, it can do well. It can do well. It can hold its own. And that's how I managed to do pretty well at Vegas, especially going 7-1 on day one. That was a bit beyond expectations, but given that the deck does have legs, so it's not unrealistic. So yeah, that's pretty much for it for this video. It's gonna be a long one because I went through so many gameplay footages. But if you want another recap of the guide, I'm reminding you to check out the Metafy. It's free. There's no payment required. I'll link it in the description. And obviously, if you have any more questions, please comment below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, overall, that's gonna be it for this one. As usual, thank you for watching.